Hello and welcome to another exciting episode following me, Almost Immortal, as I play All the Mods 9 to the sky. This will be my 10th video. I haven't done much between episodes, mostly just allowing the power to generate through. We've got 36.88 TFE, which is barely anything compared to what we can hold. I also ended up getting the gravitational modulating units that I needed. I've got 16 of those in the A2 storage now. Looking at the star quests, the next step, I think, is going to be Botania. Just before this video, I created a petal apothecary, which is what we use to be able to create our flowers. Certain flowers are used to generate mana, and certain, like this pure daisy, are used to be able to interact with blocks. For example, the pure daisy can be surrounded by either stone or logs, and it will turn them to either living rock or living wood, which is going to be the first thing we do. So let's jump right in. I've prepared an island here with some cables underneath, and I've got the petal apothecary here to the side. So all we do to create the pure daisy is we pop water in there. We give it 4 of these white petals, which is just one, you throw them like that. And then you throw in a seed. And you've got 20 seconds to right click with an empty hand and it'll redo the same recipe. So if we pop water in, right click, done again, and then you just throw in a seed. Nice and easy. I've just set a little area up over in this corner where I'm going to pop the pure daisies. One side is going to need logs, just like this. And one side is going to need stone, just like this. And they will slowly convert that. On the top of these, I want to put an annihilation plane, which is going to destroy these when they turn into the block that we want. And underneath, similar to how we did the latex setup, we're going to need formation planes. I'm using the active ones because they don't need a subnet or anything to run. Just like that. I'll pop a cable on each of these just so that they can have access to the network, and I'll pop an anchor between these ones so that these can be separated because each of these cables can only hold 8 channels. Underneath, I've done the same as what I've done for every other subnet. And in the interface, all I need to do is set it to stock acacia logs and stone. Just like that. I'll also add a crafting card in here, just to make sure that it can craft the acacia logs. The stone at the moment, we're creating passively. For the formation planes, we need to set it to block placement, so that it puts down just a block. On this side, we want stone. And to make it easier, I will use a memory card just to record that through and copy it. And then on the other side, we just tell it to stock acacia logs. Nice and easy underneath like that. The annihilation planes are a little bit different because they don't have any filters themselves. So we've got to set the storage bus to pull in the living rock and living wood, just like that. That just tells it that there's a place for the living rock and living wood to go. Let's give it a try. I've popped an anchor there just to stop it from interacting as it comes up. I'm going to pop anchors here to stop these two interacting as well. There we go. The first time I tried this, it didn't work. And that's because the storage bus over here needs to be set to filter on insertion only. So it filters what's coming in from out here and not what's coming in from here. That's working now, and if I check the network, we've got some living wood and living rock. That's a nice and easy setup that's just going to generate passively while we do everything else in the background. Looking at the quests, the next thing we want to do is try and generate mana. Now, the whole point of Botania is that we generate mana with our generating flowers. So the first two it recommends is these two. One that I can barely pronounce, Hydrangais, and an ender flame. The first one uses source blocks of water to be able to generate mana, but it works slowly. And the other one uses items like coal or wood, anything that you can combust, and that generates mana. That's a little bit quicker. What we want to do first is make a mana pool with our living rock. And I think I'll get started with ender flames for our flowers. We're also going to want a way of directing our mana into the pool. And that's done using first a wand of the forest along with a mana spreader. Now luckily, since we started mystical agriculture early on and we made the mystical flower essences, we've been generating that passively and we've got 1.8 million of that just in our network. So we can use that to make any of the different mystical flowers that we want. And because of that, I've got plenty of the petals here to be able to make our first set of flowers. So I'm going to make a few of these ender flames. Just pop water in there, and then it's 2 brown, 1 light grey, and 1 red. Just give it a seed, and there we go. And then because we've got 20 seconds to do that again, I can just do that, throw in a seed. So we've got 10 ender flame to start us off, and I've also made 5 mana pool. To get the wand of the forest that we're after, we need this living wood twigs, which comes from just this living wood. Nice and easy. And then for the mana spreader, it's just the living wood logs with any petal and a copper ingot. I'll make a few of those to get us going. We're just going to need to replace some of this down here with dirt for where the ender flame are going to go. Pop them in a block of 4x4 for now. And then, like normal flowers, you just pop them down. Then we just need a mana pool for the mana to go into. Like that. And then a mana spreader, which will direct the mana into the pools. And all we need to do is right-click that, and right-click a pool, and that's where it goes to. And if we right-click these here, and then onto the spreader, that directs their mana up to that mana spreader. You have to remember to crouch, right click, and stay crouched to add it to there. And then what I'll do is we'll make a second one of these here for the others to go into. If you hover over them, you can see there's a little red X on there. That's because that's not linked to anything. When we go back, now it's linked. There we go. They're all linked up to a mana spreader. Brilliant. Now, we just need to give them some fuel. To fuel the ender flame, I'm going to use blocks of coal. To give them that, I'm going to need first a pressure plate, and then an open crate by Botania. Then I'll pop in a hopper, and then we'll feed a redstone signal here. Then I'll just put a slab here, and put a redstone on top there, one on top of there, and then what will happen is, when I give it the blocks of coal, turn my magnet off, that'll activate that, which stops it, and then these will pick it up, and then it'll drop another one. Now all I need to do is feed the hopper some blocks of coal from my network. There we go. Now this will passively generate mana for me. As you can see, there's some already gone in. And we'll see how fast that goes up. It's quite slow for now, but it's a start. Next, we're going to create some Manasteel. All we do is throw iron into one of these mana pools when it's got mana in it. And it gives us Manasteel. There's 4 Manasteel ingots. I'm going to very quickly make the seeds for this, so we can get the essence, and then we can passively generate Manasteel while we do everything else. I did just that, and now we've got an abundance of Manasteel. Because of our newfound Manasteel, I can also make a mana splitter, which I've done. All this does is spreads the mana to 4 adjoined mana pools, like this. You do have to direct the mana spreader to that instead of these, and then it puts it into 4. It just means you can hold more mana by directing it to one source. Our next step is to make some runes, and we need this, a runic altar. We need to direct one of these to it so that it can have mana while it's doing its rune. Let's have a gander at the runes we can make. So there's water, fire, earth, air, or mana. I've got them all here. Let's make a few of each. So we're going to need things like mana powder, which is just sugar in a mana pool, fishing rod, sugarcane, bone meal, manasteel. And when you're done with the craft, you need to put a living rock down on the actual altar once it's charged up. Let me show you with the first one. Right, so we'll start with water. So mana powder, rod, sugarcane, bone wheel, and a steel ingot. You just right click each of these on here. Like that. And then you can see the X there. So that slowly begins to charge up. You can see the green covering the rune. When that's full, I need to put a living rock on there. And then click it with the wand of the forest. Now that that's all charged and ready, we just pop a living rock on there and then click it with the wand. There we go. You know it's ready because it had the lightning and such there. So I'll make a few of each. Fire, water, earth, air, and mana. And then once I've got a few, we'll move on to the next step. As you can see, I've got several of each of them now. And these are what we're going to use to get certain of the flowers and also to move on to the next step on the quest. So the next step is to create Terrasteel. So first we need one of these, a Terrasteel agglomeration plate, which includes one of each of the runes we've just made. Next we need to make this thing. This is a platform where we need to place 5 living rock and 4 blocks of lapis lazuli. We're going to have to make some sparks so we can direct the mana, which are just these things. Grab a few of those. So we'll put this here, and I think it's just 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Just like that. And then the lapis goes there. And then that plate we've just made, that goes in the middle there. We want to take the mana from these pools, and we want to pop it over here. The quest says we need a Manasteel ingot, a mana diamond, and a mana pearl to be thrown onto that plate. So we'll try that. And there we are. And now we just wait for that to craft. It takes mana out of here. And then we just take that. So we can do the same again. We need 4 of these to be able to make the seeds, so we don't have to keep doing this. And again, you can see the mana going down. And it's craft. As you can see, I'm generating mana very, very slowly at the moment with just End of Flame. So I've gone ahead and made 2 new flowers. These are Rosa Arcana. So as you can see, my experience is going down, but their mana is going up. Put these, link to these here. And as long as I stand close to this, these will keep going up, and it'll keep filling our mana pool. It isn't massively fast, but I suppose if I added a few more of these, it would be. I'm going to leave it at 2 for now and let this generate up a little bit, and then I'll get the remaining 2 Terrasteel, and then I'll make the seeds, and then we'll move on. I've been playing with the different flowers that generate mana, and I've settled on 2 for the next step. The first one is Gormarilis, which basically just eats different types of food, and I believe the more different types of food you give it, the more mana it can generate. I've not found a perfect solution yet, and there's probably much better things out there with a lot less waste. But I've settled on the active formation planes, which are just feeding this one steak. I think that one's mutton. Then there's pork chop, steak, and so on. And I've done the same on this side. And this will just slowly generate mana as the food is kicked out. As you can see, it's not a lot at the moment, probably because there's a lot of waste going on and I need to do some improvements. These, however, as you can see, are generating a lot more mana. That's from these here. They're Wither Aconites. These just eat nether stars. I don't know how long it takes to eat one, because whenever I hover over it, it shows me the durability out of 1.2 million, and it doesn't go down until I pick it up and throw it back down again. I've tried sitting and waiting, and I've changed a timer up here. I've got this little setup with the redstone signal over a hopper over an open crate, which is over the Wither Aconite. And I've set this to 1, so it's got a constant signal, and then I've got it set to pause while redstone is active. And then this one over here is set to 96,000, which I think is about 8 minutes. So hopefully they eat it within 8 minutes. According to Google, they take 1 minute and 50 seconds. That is not the case. I've sat and waited. It doesn't eat it in that quick. It's just... So I don't know. But I'll keep playing with that and see if I can generate more mana. In the meantime, I've set up 12 new mana pools with 3 splitters in between them. This side is being given mana from these. This side is being given mana from these. And then the middle ones are from the 4 Wither Aconites. The next step is to open the portal of Alfheim. This is how we're going to do trades with the elven people. And we can throw things in later on to do things like pixie dust, which is a mana pearl inside the portal. It does take a little bit of mana to do the trade, and you also need to have quite a bit of mana ready to start the portal. To make the portal, we need a few things. We need 1 elven gateway core, 2 nature pylons, 3 glimmering living wood logs, and 8 living wood. I've got them set up here so that I can make them. We're also going to need 2 mana pools, 1 at either side of the door. That's where the nature pylons are going to go. So the portal's pretty easy to set up. I'll pop it here. Pop the core in the middle. And then you put a living wood either side. Use Kiwi as temporary blocks. Same again here. And then the middle one is this glimmering living wood. And then exactly the same for the top. Then just in front of it, like this, we want the mana pools. And then you pop these over the top. And then we just need to direct the mana into there. There's a few different ways to transfer the mana from these pools to these ones. But I think the easiest one right now is to use a band of mana. I've got the greater one here, which is actually just slowly building mana passively through the greater band of aura. But one thing we can do is, if we shift and right click on the pool here, I'll do it on this one because it's full, and then we throw this in, it'll slowly drain the mana from the pool and put it into the ring. And then all we do is we throw the ring in one of the other pools that we want to transfer it to, and it'll absorb the mana from that. And then to activate this, we just right click the core there. There we go. And then that uses mana just to start. There's a few things we want to get to begin with. First of all, we'll throw in a mana diamond, and that gets us a dragon stone. If we throw in 2 Manasteel, we get back an Elementium ingot. And if we throw in a mana pearl, we get back pixie dust. I'm going to get 4 of the Elementium ingots so that we can create the seeds. Just like that. And then I'll make the seed, do the same as usual, and come back here. Now that I've got the Elementium seeds and the Elementium in my network, I want to create one of these. A spark augment. I'm going to make 2 actually. I'm going to pop them just over here where the mana pools are so that when I do trades, I don't run out. What you do is you right click a spark like that, and as you can see, the mana gets pulled from elsewhere and to there. I've just had to break the nature pylon so that I could put that down, and I'll do the same on this side. You just shift right click, put the nature pylon back, and then as you see, the mana pool's full. So now when we do trades, all the mana will get pulled from over here over to here. Our next step is to get up to here, Alfsteel. First, we need to make a Rune of Asgard, which needs a Rod of Bifrost, which is Elementium and Pixie Dust with 1 Dragonstone. And then we need to make a Mana Infuser multi-block. Similar to the Terrasteel one, it uses a Mana Infuser, and then we need to make Shimmer Rock, which needs Living Rock and a Bifrost block. That needs Elf Glass and the Rod of Bifrost, and then we need Mana Glass to make the Elf Glass, and we get Mana Glass by throwing glass in a mana pool. I got all the parts and got everything set up here. My Shimmer Rock and the blocks of gold with the Mana Infuser in the middle. I've also put a spark here with a dominant augment on it, so it'll pull all of the mana over there when we do our infusion. So I believe it's just 1 each of Pixie Dust, Elementium Ingot, and Dragonstone. We place them on, we move away, and then it'll take 1.5 pools of mana, I believe. And then we get Alfsteel. Now, unlike the others, this one we cannot get with Mystical Agriculture. We're either going to have to just keep using the Mana Infuser, or we're going to have to use bees. I've already got some iron bees breeding, because to get this, we need to use the Mana Infuser, costing 4 mana pools, on an Elementium bee spawn egg. And to get that, we need a Manasteel bee spawn egg, which you just throw into the portal. And to get that, we need iron bee spawn eggs just in the mana pools. So once I've got enough for 5 iron bee spawn eggs, I'll make those, throw them in the mana pool, and then work through until we've got enough for Alfsteel. They are going to cost quite a bit to make, working out more than 20 pools of mana, but I think with our current setup, we should be able to do that in not too long. We're also going to need 9 of these ingots, because we'll need a block for the Alfsteel bee. While I was waiting for my bees to breed so that I can make the Alfsteel bee, I upgraded my mana generation. First, I've added more mana pools and some mana splitters. I've filled all these up ready for when we need to use it. I've also replaced the Gormarilis flowers with Kekimuras, which just eat cake. And I've output the cake as a block using the active formation planes. There's a lot less waste, and now we generate a lot more mana. I also realised I can make a mana bee. And to do that, I need to make a pure bee, which is just bee spawn eggs, white petals, and a honey treat. So I'm going to make the mana bee, and I'm also going to make the Alfsteel bee, so that I can get passive Alfsteel and passive mana. We'll start with the Alfsteel bee, because I've got the iron bee eggs here. All you do, throw these into a pool, and that's 5 Manasteel bee spawn eggs. And then we throw these in here, and we get Elementium bee spawn eggs. And then now we just need to add that with Pixie Dust and Dragonstone to this here. We need 20 pools to be able to get these, which will be the majority of our mana. So it should just be as simple as this, this, and this. And then we walk away. There we go. That's our first Alfsteel bee spawn egg. So I'll make 5 of those, and then we'll move on to the mana bee spawn eggs. There we go. That's 5 Alfsteel bee spawn eggs. Now we need to make 5 pure bee spawn eggs to make the mana bees. And that should just be, fill this with water, 3 white, one of those, and then we throw in a bee. To be able to make these, we needed a bee spawn egg. So what I did was take some honey essence and put it in a solium spawner and just caught a load of bees. I put them through the squisher and then made 5 eggs. And there we are, that's 5 pure bee spawn eggs. So what we do now is we go to a runic altar. We need 4 runes of mana and 1 rune of greed with the pure bee. Just like that. There we are, I've got Alfsteel bees and mana bees. I've added the upgrades for both of them, and I've also put the item in the feeding slab that JEI says they need. Now we can leave them running in the background to generate more resources. I think the mana bees just generate the black lotus to these here, and I'm pretty sure you just throw those in a mana pool and it generates mana. Next, we need to build a beacon and surround that with 4 Gaia pylons. We're going to work towards summoning the Gaia spirit. The next step to getting the Gaia spirits is performing the ritual of Gaia. That needs an active beacon, so we'll pop these here. Pop the beacon on top. Pop a piece of iron in there, and we'll have speed. We could make it bigger, but I'm not going to bother right now. Next, it's putting down the Gaia pylons. I'm not going to do that yet, because I don't feel like I'm ready. And instead, I'd like to upgrade my armour to Vibranium, and then I'd like to enchant them a little bit. So let me get some things set up to show you, and I'll guide you through the steps of me improving myself. The easiest way to get Vibranium is using the summoning altar. This needs 1 Elementium going in, 3 Insanium essence, and then 1 of each of earth, fire, air, and water essences, and then to top it off, a bucket of life from blood magic. I've got the Insanium essence from mystical agriculture, and it's easy enough to make the essences for water, air, fire, and earth, and I'll show you what I'm doing for that now. Each of them have been set up just like this, with their components to make them. I've got the item transporter pulling these source gems out. I only need 12 of each, but I've got 16 in there just for ease, so we've got some left over. And then we just sit and wait for these to finish. Take that, add it to the filter, and then it'll passively do this while we sort out the blood magic side. For the fire essence, it was very simple. 1 flint and steel, 1 torch, 1 gunpowder. For earth, it was iron, any seed, and dirt, but I think we did that one in the past. Air was just a feather, a wilden wing, and an arrow, and then water was a water bucket, a piece of kelp, and a snow block. Now, for blood magic, we're going to do this in another video where I'm going to focus entirely on blood magic, but we will need one of these, a blood altar. And since we need it for now, we'll just get it set up. I'll pop it over here out of the way for the time being. And then what we need is a sacrificial knife, one of these, where you stand next to this and you stab yourself. Deal damage to your health, and it'll fill this up with blood or life essence. And then all you do is you pop a bucket in there, and it'll slowly drain and fill it up with life essence. We need 12 of these, so I'm just going to fill these up. And because we like things to be nice and simple, we're going to do exactly the same as what we've done for the essences. Pop bucket there, so it only sends 1 bucket. And then we just have a white list there with regulate mode disabled with the bucket of life in the filter. And then this sends through. And there we go. 16 of each of those. Again, I only need 12, but good to have some backups. And at least 12 buckets of life. Now we just need to make a summoning altar. 1 of these. And we just need to place that down somewhere. So to make the Vibranium, we need 1 of each essence, like this. 3 Insanium essence, 1 bucket of life, and then we finish it off with an Elementium. And then we get 3 Vibranium. Now I need, I think, 36 of these to be able to make the Vibranium seeds for Mystical Agriculture. So I'm going to do that. And that's a nice and easy Vibranium seed. Now I'll just pop it in one of these. And we'll generate some essence. There we go, I've got Vibranium generating passively while I do everything else. Now we'll upgrade everything. First our armour. Looking better already. The last thing I'd like to do before facing off against the Guardian of Gaia is start enchanting. I've got a lot of enchanting books in my Marine Fisher, and it would be good to get a Library of Alexandria or an enchantment library at the very least, just so that I could store them and I can pop them on my armour and my tools. I've just got a quick head start on the Apotheosis Enchanting quests. Just up to seashelves. Very easy. First we get an enchanting table, get our first bookshelf, and then just take here. Seashells were also nice and easy. We've already got lots of fish. Got the bookshelves from the Easy Villagers. I just set a lectern up here with the trader. And I'll set it up here. So, there we go. I've just set this up so that I can get this here, infusion. Because I need 4 infused seashells. And that's just for this here, the enchantment library. I'll pop the enchantment library just there. And then if we come to the chest where the Marine Fisher is, what we can do is start to take all of these books. What happens is when we pop a book in here, it stores it. And as we store each of these, it's going to store each of the enchantments attached to it. And it'll also stack them. So when we've got more than one in there of the same one, it'll say like their points stored and max level available. So as we start building it up, we can then take them out here and make better books. We could work our way through the Apotheosis quest line and get to the end to try and get the best enchantments, but it would take quite a while, and I'm eager to try and beat the Guardian of Gaia. So from adding those, we've got things like Blast Protection, max level available 4. We've got Efficiency 4, Fire Aspect, level 2 Fortune, Frostbite, Infinity, and even Sharpness 3. We can add more to this by buying more books, or we can just let the Marine Fisher keep finding them. I've been playing with the villagers, bought some more enchanted books, and set some more lecterns up so that I can get some better enchants. And I've ended up with Magic Protection 3, Spectral Conjurer 10, Thorns 2, Vitality 3, Reach 3, Protection 3, Blast Protection 4, Blast Protection 4, Protection 3, and Magic Protection 3, Stable Footing, and Spectral Bite 4. I've also got Looting 2, Sharpness 3, Leech 3, and Fire Aspect 2 on my axe, and Fortune 2, Efficiency 4 on my pickaxe. They're not the best enchants, but it'll keep me going, and hopefully the extra health and power I've got should do me well. Now it's time for the Guardian of Gaia. As you can see, I've got prepared with a shield. Don't know if I need it, but we will see. I've also equipped my Emerald Jetpack because it flies around much faster. Now that we've got the Gaia pylons up, we just shift right click with this Terrasteel ingot, and then we wait for the Gaia Guardian to spawn. As you can see, I had to add more floor over there, and then it worked. Here we go. So many waves. Last tiny bit of his health, and he's just going to keep spawning monsters. There we go. That wasn't so bad. We got 8 Gaia Spirit, so we can actually make the Gaia Spirit Seed. Yep. And I think that is a good place to end things. I've already made the seed and popped it into a phytogenic insulator, and we've got some Gaia spirits passively generating. So when we want to make the dimensional seed, we'll have that ready, and we can make many more seeds to be able to make all 18 that we need. There are a few other things we could do in Botania, like getting the gear that you can get with it, and we could even face off against the harder Gaia Guardian to get the Dice of Fate, but I'm not going to do that yet because, again, I don't think I'm prepared for that, and we also don't need it for the star just yet. If you've made it this far, I really appreciate it, and I hope you've had a great time. See you next time.